Oda just revealed the most broken Zoan god fruit in One Piece. And it's an actual devil.
Hold on. Wait. Hey!
Yup, Balls's prediction was correct once again. Oda has confirmed Imu's devil fruit and it is the power of the actual devil. He has shown up in Elbaf and the Straw Hats are about to be cooked. Because using Abrahamic lore of the devil, Yusuf and I have just pieced together the true power of Imu and how the world was before the creation of devil fruits. And with how busted Imu is, there is another reason for Monkey Deadbeat Dragon to come to Elbaf. I'll get to that in the end of the video, don't go.
Are you serious right now, bro?
Before that though, the kids are safe as Imu's takeover of Gunko has allowed her arrow powers to vanish, but just as the giant parents rush to save them, with one glare, Imu releases the biggest Conqueror's Haki wave we have seen so far in the series, rivaling even Joy Boy's 800-year-old musty Haki from Egghead. It instantly stunlocks the giants with only the strongest warriors like Dory, Broggy, and Jarul still left standing. Yet, Imu is not done aura farming, as Gonko now has turned into a full-on hybrid devil with bat-like wings, a trident, and the triangular tail, which almost killed Sabo back in chapter 1085. Imu says that he won't permit a rebellion, then starts flaming Killingham for his mid-ass nightmare demons. By the way, these nightmares of Saint Q, who are supposed to be mid according to Imu, were so busted that only Gaban, Dory, and Broggy were able to deal with them effectively. However, Imu is referring to the speed at which the God's Knights have been working to blackmail and subdue Elbaf. Like, half a day should be enough to subdue these bum-ass giants, bro. What are you doing? Wasting all this time killing them? Killingham then explains to us how his demon god fruit actually works. Turns out that he has a bunch of spawners placed all around Elbaf that pop out nightmares of the people around it. As long as those spawners are right there, these creatures won't die, as beings created from dreams have no concept of death. Which is interesting, as we know that devil fruits are also created by people's dreams and they don't die either. They simply respawn into another fruit. But I will touch on that secret a bit later in the video, because Saint Diddy has fully regenerated.
Diddy, come on out. He's...
Confirming our thoughts from the last few videos that Gaban's god Haki simply severed the connection between Summer's body and Imu's immortality powers granted to him. It was just a delay because Gaban was more focused on saving Colin than actually fighting Summer's last chapter. But the reason for Saint Diddy's quick regen might also have to do with Imu showing up and spraying everyone with his Haki. Either way, Summers is back, shocking the Straw Hats, but Big Man Jinbei is more worried about Devil Gunko in the sky. His words basically confirm that this is a complete takeover by Imu. Robin is especially worried because the only people who have a chance at fighting Imu, Summers, and Saint Q are Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. But those big backs are still in the underworld eating meat. But Imu emanating this much Haki will definitely inform the boys down below of the situation in the Sun World. Even 5-Anji has enough observation to feel it with his baddie radar, since, you know, Imu took over Gunko, a certified baddie. There is also Robin though. She was known as the Demon Child, and we saw in Wano her true demonic form. But with Summer's thorns being a direct counter to her flower fruit, she can't get free. It would be pretty interesting to see Robin help out in beating Imu in Elbaf, because he is the biggest enemy of history itself. And piecing together the true history of the world, which has been broken by Imu, is Robin's dream. While Imu's dream is to destroy and subjugate, so he tells the God's Knights to lock the in because they need a suitable authority, someone capable of striking a proper ransom for the kids. But who would they even ask the ransom from? Elbaf hasn't had a king since the death of King Harold. On top of that, why does Imu even need to use the kids as blackmail when he wields this much power? Which makes me think that there are some downsides to the Devil no Mi. It doesn't matter to Imu that Elbaf has no king though, as he commands Dory and Broggy, the strongest giants in Elbaf, other than Loki who is in exile, to take dominion over the island. Dory, however, doesn't care one bit what Imu has to say as he grabs onto the devil and starts crushing him. Meanwhile, Brogy and the rest of the giants are rushing to save the kids. Imu isn't phased one bit though. Dory and Brogy have a bounty of 1.8 billion each, okay? Yet Imu's aura is so massive that he simply starts ordering the giants around while taking out a grimoire like he's Lucius from Black Clover. He tells Brogy to meet up with Ja Rule, kill him, the oldest giant, and proclaim to the people of the island that they are the new kings of Elbaf. At the same time, Bro takes out a trident and a shotgun from the grimoire, shooting Brogy's hand right off. As the hand is severed, Imu uses a new ungodly power.
Thou shalt cast aside thy lifespan for a body unyielding to death. Under Mu's dominion, thou shalt be granted unprecedented strength. No longer shalt thou be bound by reason nor by common sense.
The cut-off hand feels like a blood sacrifice Imu just did as he drops Brogy down a demon circle with the demonic contract ability. Once again, Ball's Deep prediction was right. The Gorosei and the demon god forms plus the god's knight's immortality is due to Imu sharing his own power through his devil contract ability. However, in Brogy's case, it's not consensual. While someone like Garling accepted his powers after becoming a Gorosei, Brogy is thrust down to hell and forced to come out, transformed as a demonic giant through a power called Domi Reversi, which means return to home in Latin. This is likely due to the insane power given by the devil latching onto the darkest parts of a person. In Brogy's case, he and Dory were locked in a battle to see who was stronger, or a contest of pride, one of the deadly sins. So Imu's power suppresses all other aspects of Brogy that makes him human and brings out the worst, i.e. the demonic aspects of the giant. The first words Brogy even speaks is about a warrior's pride. As Brogy cuts up his brothers, including Dory, they too come out of the demon circle as giant spawns of hell. Each of them is the size of Loki or Ors. Coupled with the monsters created by killing them, Elbaf is honestly cooked. I guess now we know why Imu wants Elbaf under his control so badly, including funding giant experimentation through the Marines. These guys, when transformed into demons, are going to be the strongest force in Imu's arsenal. However, I bet there is a limit to how many Imu can turn into demons without their consent. That's why he wants to use the kids as hostages to make a deal with the remaining giants so they can sell their soul to the devil willingly, similar to the Gorosei. But there is a difference between someone like the Gorosei or the God's Knights who wield parts of Imu's powers versus someone like Gunko who not only has Imu's immortality but can also act as a vessel for the devil. This is likely due to her being groomed since childhood to function as Imu's vessel. I guess that's why the world government needs so many kids, from Mother Caramel's trafficking to Ginny, Kuma, and Ivanka being slaves. It all makes sense with this logic. The ones who survive the ritual or experimentation become Imu's vessels and a direct access point to the outside world. It's kind of like Sasuke with Orochimaru's curse mark. The ones who survive bear those ringed eyes similar to Imu, which indicates multiple souls or personalities residing within someone. Perhaps Mihawk was one of these kids, but his haki was so busted that he broke free from Imu's control. Another question that gets answered here is my boy Loki, he did nothing wrong. It's very likely that King Harold and the other giants got taken over as devils by Imu, and that's who Loki killed. But now, my boy Loki, he's innocent. So he's going to be accepted back into the giants' fold, becoming their king and save Elbaf alongside Luffy. Furthermore, this revelation of Imu though answers so many questions, okay? One of which are the fruits of the Gorosei and people who have been corrupted by Imu, which we have been calling demon god fruits for a few years now. In fact, we predicted Imu having this devil fruit 2 years ago as soon as that tale was revealed. Even on our Zoro Eye video from like, I think 3 or 4 years ago, we had already explained how the eyes are a mark of possession likely wielded by Imu. So for all those correct predictions, why don't you guys check out the Deep Vault to buy some banger travel posters that our boy Dredge designed using the code DEADBEAT for 15% off. With all this devil stuff happening, I would definitely buy that Hajj Village and Royal Capital poster. I'm not gonna lie, those look fire. But the devil stuff also reveals how the final war will actually go, what Imu's goals are, and the origins of the One Piece world itself, including how Monkey Deadbeat Dragon has the final piece to defeat Imu. For years, Oda has layered religious imagery across the structure of the celestial dragons, framing them as divine elites or gods in name and privilege. However, just as Psalms 82:6 in the Old Testament says, "Ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men," it calls mortal rulers gods who will always eventually fall. One Piece does this too, with Imu's divine title now turning into a hollow illusion. The gods of this world are not sacred, they are parasites cloaked in myth. Marishwa is called a holy land, a high place quite literally in the sky mirroring heaven. But even the name Marie-Joie evokes Mary, the mother of Christ, a false association suggesting purity and divinity. But we all know the Imu party goes down in that palace. Nothing pure about that, chat. Basically, the truth is inverted. The celestial dragons are no saint. They're angels of the Seraphim, are not divine protectors but engineered weapons. The very iconography of heaven has been hijacked, twisted by the world government to mask the truth. That at its core, the entity they worship and draw power from is not God, but the literal devil, which this chapter proves. So when Whitebeard says the world will be turned upside down upon the One Piece being found, he means that the world will be set straight again. Furthermore, Imu is the ruler of the empty throne. He's not a deity of light, but one of shadow. In Abrahamic tradition, the devil is a being who rebelled after the creation of man. In Christianity, he was a fallen angel. In Islam, he was a jinn who refused to bow to Adam, claiming superiority. This same arrogance echoes in Imu and the celestial dragons. They look down on all others as insects, as lesser beings unworthy of grace. When Saturn calls humans bugs, it's not a hyperbole, it's their doctrine. Using this idea of the devil rebelling due to the creation of man, Imu's Devil no Mi suggests something far more ancient than any devil fruit we have seen. In the mural of the three worlds, we were shown a towering figure of a devil looming above a crowned king. This wasn't just symbolic, it was a contract or a soul pact. The king, in exchange for dominion and power, offered life essence or soul energy to the devil. This energy would be consumed not just from people but from the planet itself, and then came the collapse. The mural seems to hint at a moment when the world was cracked open. The devil fed too deeply, draining the earth of its essence until it erupted in volcanic despair. The molten explosion, writhing like a serpent, formed what we now call the Red Line. It is a scar or a reminder of the devil's pact and the apocalypse that followed. The serpent-like shape of the volcanic eruption aligns with the biblical symbol of evil, a snake tempting humanity and fracturing paradise. In the aftermath of this cataclysm, the second world entered an unnatural darkness. The sun god was hidden, the air smothered with ash, but nature adapted. Fishmen arose to live in the seas. Giants were born to endure the cold and starvation, and at the center of this evolution stood a tree. All of the magic and haki from the first world concentrated upon it, giving birth to the mother of devil fruits, Sunlight Tree Eve. This tree became a new conduit of the world's will, infused with the soul of the sea and the voice of its people. When those in despair wished to survive, their will became incarnate. Haki turned into fruit, and those who were too powerful to die instead became fruits themselves, like the mythical zone fruits of Nika or Sengoku's Buddha fruit. Similarly, the Devil King, the original soul-eating entity, was one of them, and centuries later, Imu Nerona consumed that fruit, becoming the current incarnation of the devil, because as we know, mythical zones like Nika seek out the user that best embodies them. But to understand this devil further, we must also look at classical mythology, specifically Hades. In Greco-Roman lore, Hades ruled the underworld. His staff, a bident or three-pronged fork, it was the symbolic counterpart to Poseidon's trident. And this imagery carries forward into the modern depiction of the devil. Pitchfork in hand, Cerberus at his feet, likely inspiring the Figar lands. Hades is the archetype of the infernal king. In One Piece, IMU seems to channel the same essence. Their throne sits atop the world, yet their dominion is that of death, secrecy, and shadows. Poseidon, by contrast, was god of the seas, but here's the twist. Poseidon in One Piece is no god, she's a young mermaid, a pawn in the larger game representing the fish people. She exists not as a ruler, but as bait, a distraction while the devil pulls strings behind the curtain, which is similar to how people are led to care more about the racism between humans and fishmen, while the Celestials and IMU at the top are drowning the world and taking up all the resources as heavenly tribute. Oda is cooking, chat. Furthermore, there is one man who has known the truth and has been fighting to reveal it for decades. I'm talking about my goat, Monkey Deadbeat Dragon. From the shadows, he's been moving, not as a father, not just as a rebel, but as a man carrying a revolutionary gospel. Think about it, okay? Revolutionary army are always the ones tied to the word of God in the story, like Bartholomew Kuma walking around with a Bible like some lost apostle, or Ivankov, who was recently shown holding the book of Genesis. That's not a coincidence, but that's a pattern right there. Two of them, and then Dragon is gonna have the third book, because this isn't just a fight for freedom, this is a battle between heaven and hell. We know O'Hara had discovered the truth of the world by reading the poneglyphs, ancient murals of the first world, and the void century. How? Well, Professor Clover and the scholars of O'Hara had good relations with the giants of Elbaf, and they cataloged all of their findings into a collection of books that the Revolutionary Army now carries. And who was there when the giants saved those books? Monkey Deadbeat Dragon. Back then, just a rogue freedom fighter, but after witnessing the fall of O'Hara, that's when he formed the Revolutionary Army for real. So let me put this into perspective, okay? The Bible in real life has 66 books. What if the books from O'Hara were the One Piece equivalent, a complete record of humanity's creation, fall, prophecy, and rebirth? It was the real truth which threatened Imu's rule. The book of Genesis in this context would describe the creation of the second world. It contained the origins of the Adam and Eve tree, the great flood, Noah, and the world-shaping sin of maybe Zunisha that led to the oppression we see today. Kuma's Bible, well, I believe it's a standalone volume focused on Nika, the sun god, as those two characters have a lot in common. Nika was a Christ-like figure who brings joy, dances in the face of evil, and frees the enslaved. You can't get more Messiah-coded than that. But the final book, the one that ties everything together, would be the Book of Revelation, and Monkey Deadbeat Dragon is the one who holds it. Think about what Revelation means. It's the story of the final battle between good and evil, the fall of Babylon, the return of the Messiah, and the creation of the new heaven and new earth. In One Piece terms, Babylon is Marie Joie. The Messiah is Joy Boy, who returns in the body of Luffy, and the new world, that's Dawn, the final world after the collapse of the world government. And guess what? Luffy literally resurrected in Wano with Gear 5. When he died, it came back dancing with a smile. Bruh, Dragon knows the importance of Luffy. That's why he saved him in Loketown, not just as a father, but as a revolutionary who wants to see a new dawn. We've heard about the prophecy of the dawn for years, from Odin, from Joy Boy, from the whales that awaited the sovereigns. And that prophecy, it could be the final chapter in the Book of Revelation. A prophecy written 800 years ago, and the same prophecy that Madame Charlie's ancestor may have passed down. Everything is lining up. Odin's journal talks about Joy Boy's return. The prophecy lives on, and if Dragon knows all of this, if he has read Genesis, Nika's tale, and the full Revelation, then he also knows Imu's weaknesses. That's why when the Revolutionary Army attacked Marie Joie, Imu panicked. He immediately ran to Elbaf and called for help. Why? Because Dragon isn't just coming with an army, he's the GOAT. However, Monkey Deadbeat Dragon is playing 5D chess. Imu will have Luffy in his grasp, about to kill him, but then a gust of hurricane will blow this Timu bat away. As the camera pans up, we see Monkey Deadbeat Dragon, who has come to Elbaf. Type deadbeat in the chat if you agree. If you enjoyed this video, watch this other dragon video on screen right now to support the deadbeat movement. Thank you.